Today I want to continue talking to you on how to handle the seasons of life. I want you to discover how God uses breakdowns to create breakthroughs so we can break out into a new season of victory with the Lord on our side. On Tuesday, June 4th, we learned from the encounter that Mary and Martha had with Jesus regarding Lazarus' death that hope is a four-letter word that the devil hates. And while we wait, we focus not wavering in our faith, but we stay the course and we fight the good fight and we keep talking to Jesus, just like Mary and Martha did as they were with Jesus while they waited. Today I want to look at what happens during the third season as we focus on what Mary and Martha experienced as Lazarus was dead, that I called the delayed season for hope. It's in those moments when there is no answer to your prayers and your pain is so real that you get to the edge of the third season, which is the season of despair with your life. Despair is when nothing else matters to you because things are so bad, you get so lowly and so down. Even when people say to you, but hey, you still got this and you still got that. You don't really care what they have to say. And you get to the point that nothing matters. And people will say stuff like, why should I still keep trying to go forward with my faith? Because if God doesn't show up now, what then can I expect from him in the future? Why even try to go on? So Jesus said to his disciples in John 11:15 regarding Lazarus being dead, I'm glad. Just imagine that. Doesn't that seem a little cruel? But there is something so rich, there's something so deep, there's something so real here that Jesus is saying to his disciples that I don't want you to miss out. That he says again, and for your sake, I'm glad I was not there. And then these next two words appear in the text, so that. So that is one little Greek word called heneklos. And it indicates that there's a purpose, there's a result, there's an explanation. What he was saying was, I'm so glad I was not there, and let me give you the reason why. Let me tell you what the purpose of this is going to be. The result is going to be. Let me tell you why I would say something that seems so insignificant. So in verse 15, he says, so that you may believe, but let us go to him. So is believing in God that important? Absolutely. Not only does God leverage our pain, but in Lazarus' case, it looks like he created this disappointment. He created the waiting and the despair and caused unbelievable pain to someone he loved. He allowed this so their faith could get bigger. Then in verse 21, it says, Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would have not died. What Martha was saying to Jesus was, I don't know how to say this politely, but my heart is broken. I'm full of despair. I believe that you could have kept him from dying. I believe you could have healed him. I believe you could have done this and should have done that. And if you would have been there, none of this would have happened. In other words, where were you, Jesus? Why did you abandon me? After all, I thought you loved us. You loved me. I thought you loved Lazarus. I thought we were special to you. You knew us. I thought because we gave financially to you, we sacrificed our time to your ministry, that you would have seen us through. And we sent you this message, and you didn't come in time to heal Lazarus. Why did you make us go through a season of disappointment? Why did you make us go through a season of waiting and now despair? In John 11:22 it says, but I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. This is amazing. Martha's in front of Jesus and listening to what Jesus says to Martha. He says, let me tell you what I know about you. I've watched you. I know that God, my Father, will give you whatever you ask of. And then in verse 23, Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered with her Jewish theology, knowing that there would come a day that the dead would rise again, when she says in verse 24, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. You know, it's like we all say to loved ones that have gone on to glory, yes, well, we'll see them someday. And that's what she was basically saying to Jesus. In John 11:25, it says, but Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. It's bigger than you think, friends. It's more important than we even know. He reminds her and us it's bigger than what we've asked for. And we need to remember that. He does things that no one can do and answers questions like no one else can. But it's bigger than that. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. And I want you to believe that. And I want men and women thousands of years later to believe that. And in order to get them to believe, I have to create an environment. I have to create a situation that's so painful for you, Martha and Mary. But I wanted you and the people of this world to see that the only way to get them to see me as the resurrection and the life was to create a situation so that people would believe me. Then in verse 25, continuing, Jesus said, anyone who believes The word, of course, believes in the Greek carries the idea of someone who trusts. Whoever believes in me will live even though they die. In verse 26, Jesus said, and whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Then in verse 27, she says, yes, Lord. She told him, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who has come into the world. I could imagine her saying, Jesus, I saw my brother die. I was waiting by the road, wondering and anticipating your arrival. And the hard part was not just watching my brother die, but that you never showed up. But she still was able to say, I believe. I believe anyway. They took Jesus to the tomb, and he gathered with all the mourners. And when he saw them and they saw him, the Bible says in verses 35 through 36 that Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. See how he loved him. And you see this rich interaction of Jesus, the Messiah, the resurrection, and Jesus, the one who will die for their sins and ours, pauses and feels the pain and weeps with them. As we conclude our discussion on handling the seasons of life next Tuesday, June 16th, we will look at the final season we can experience after dealing with the difficult, waiting, and delayed season, and that is the divine seasons of the miraculous in your life. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for taking time out of your day, and when it seems your hope is delayed, get ready for the divine nature of God to prepare the way for the miraculous coming into your circumstance in your life. Love you and have a wonderful weekend coming up. God bless you.